If you enjoy stories that feel real, touch your heart, and leave you thinking long after they end, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Mr. Wisdom's Stories. The anniversary was supposed to be simple: dinner, wine. A few hours away from the problems Jasmine and Andre had spent months trying to survive. At least, that was what Andre appeared to believe when they stepped through the restaurant doors. Jasmine knew better. The hostess smiled at them and led them past small tables filled with couples leaning close over their meals. Soft music played beneath the low murmur of conversation. Andre walked beside Jasmine, one hand resting lightly against the small of her back. The touch would have meant something to her once. Tonight, she barely noticed it. "Right this way," the hostess said. They followed her toward a table near the windows. Andre slowed down first. Jasmine did not. The table was set for three. 3 plates, 3 glasses, 3 folded napkins. Andre looked at the empty chair, then at Jasmine, then back at the chair. "Who are we waiting for?" Jasmine pulled out her chair and sat down. "You'll see." For a second, Andre remained standing. He gave a small laugh, but there was no amusement in it. "Seriously." Jasmine unfolded her napkin and placed it across her lap. "Sit down, Andre." His eyes stayed on her. "What is this? Our anniversary dinner? With somebody else?" Jasmine reached for her water glass but did not drink from it. "Yes." Andre finally sat down. For several seconds neither of them spoke. A server approached and asked whether they wanted to begin with wine. Jasmine declined. Andre hesitated before saying he would wait. The server nodded and walked away. Andre leaned forward. "Jasmine." She looked at him. "Who is coming?" "You already asked me that, and you still haven't answered." "I know." His jaw tightened. It was a small movement. Most people would not have noticed it. Jasmine had spent years noticing the small things about her husband. The way his right hand rubbed the back of his neck when he was uncomfortable. The way he became overly polite when he was trying to avoid an argument. The way he said her name first when he wanted to soften whatever he planned to say next. "Jasmine," he said again, quieter this time. She looked toward the entrance. "Give it a minute." Andre turned in his chair. "Who?" Jasmine did not answer. That frightened him more than any name could have. She saw it happen. The moment uncertainty became something heavier. His shoulders stiffened. His eyes moved across the restaurant. His fingers closed around the edge of the table. And Jasmine wondered if he finally understood what it felt like to wait for another person to decide when the truth would arrive. She had spent too many months doing exactly that. Waiting for explanations. Waiting for honesty. Waiting for certainty. Waiting for Andre to say something that did not leave her with another question. Now he was the one sitting across from her, looking at an empty chair and wondering what was about to happen. For the first time in a long time, Jasmine had not given him control of the conversation. She was surprised by how calm that made her feel. Not happy, not proud, calm. Andre lowered his voice. "If this is some kind of joke, I'm not in the mood." "It's not a joke." "Then tell me who we're waiting for." Jasmine met his eyes. "No." His expression hardened. "No, no. You brought me here, you set a table for 3, and now you're refusing to tell me who the third person is?" "Yes." Andre leaned back. For a moment, Jasmine thought he might stand up and leave. Instead, he looked toward the entrance again. "Is it your sister?" "No." "Your friend?" "No." "Then who?" Jasmine said nothing. His eyes returned to hers. "Why are you doing this?" That question almost made her smile. Not because anything about the evening was funny, because it was the question she had wanted to ask him for months. "Why are you doing this? Why did you keep talking when you could have stopped? Why did you lie when the truth would have hurt less? Why did you tell one woman you needed time while telling another woman you wanted to fix what you had broken? Why did every answer create another question?" Jasmine looked at him for a long moment. "You'll find out." Andre let out a slow breath. "I don't like this." "I know." "Jasmine, don't." His mouth closed. That surprised both of them. Jasmine had spent so much time listening to Andre explain himself that interrupting him felt almost unfamiliar. She looked down at the empty place beside them, the third chair, the reason for it, the decision she had made alone. Andre followed her eyes. Then he said, "Whatever you think you're doing, we can talk about it privately." Jasmine looked back at him. "We've had plenty of private conversations. That doesn't mean we need an audience." Her expression did not change. Andre stopped speaking. For the first time that evening, his face told her he was beginning to understand. Jasmine had not invited an audience. She had invited one person. And there was only one person whose presence could make Andre look at an empty chair as if it might destroy the evening. His eyes moved toward the entrance again. Jasmine saw the moment before he did. A woman stepped inside. Andre turned. Everything in his face changed. He knew her. Jasmine watched his expression collapse into recognition, and when the woman began walking toward their table, Andre whispered one name. Alicia. Jasmine looked at the woman she had spent too many nights imagining. Then she looked at her husband and quietly said, "Yes. Welcome to Mr. Wisdom Stories. Fictional stories about human choices, unexpected turns, and the things we sometimes learn too late. Let's begin." Alicia stopped beside the table. For 1 second, nobody moved. She looked at Jasmine first, then Andre. Andre stood so quickly his chair scraped against the floor. "What is this?" Jasmine looked up at him. "I invited her." Andre stared at her. Alicia remained standing. The confidence Jasmine had imagined this woman possessing was nowhere in sight. Alicia looked uncomfortable. Her hands were clasped in front of her, and her eyes moved between Jasmine and Andre, as if she had already begun questioning why she had agreed to come. Andre looked at Alicia. "Why would you come here?" Alicia's face tightened. "Jasmine asked me to." "You actually came?" Jasmine lifted one hand toward the empty chair. "Alicia, sit down." Andre turned toward her. "No." Jasmine looked at him. "No? This is our anniversary." "Yes." "So why is she here?" Jasmine's expression stayed calm. "Because I'm tired." Andre stared at her. "Of what?" "Of having the same conversation with you and walking away knowing less than when we started." Alicia slowly pulled out the chair. Andre looked at her again. "Don't sit down." That was the first time Jasmine saw something change in Alicia's face. Not anger. Something closer to realization. Alicia looked at Andre. Then she sat. Andre remained standing. "Jasmine, can we talk somewhere else?" "No. Privately. We've tried privately. This isn't the place." Jasmine leaned back in her chair. "That's convenient." Andre lowered his voice. "Don't do this." She looked directly at him. "Sit down." A server approached the table with 3 menus and stopped when she noticed the tension. "Would you like a few more minutes?" "Yes," Andre said immediately. Jasmine looked at her. "Yes." The server placed the menus down and walked away. Andre picked up his menu, then dropped it back onto the table without opening it. Jasmine almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Alicia was the first to speak. "You said you wanted us to talk." Jasmine nodded. "I do." Andre looked at her. "Us?" Jasmine said nothing. Alicia took a breath. "I don't understand why you wanted me here." "You will." Andre laughed once. It was short and sharp. "Can somebody please tell me what is going on?" Jasmine looked at him. "You really don't know?" "No." "That's interesting." His face hardened. "Don't start." "Don't start what?" "This." Jasmine's eyes remained on him. "You mean asking questions?" "I mean turning this into something public." Jasmine glanced around the restaurant, then back at him. "You're the one who made this public the moment you brought another woman into our marriage." Alicia lowered her eyes. Andre immediately looked at her. "Don't say that." Jasmine noticed it, the instinct, not to defend Jasmine, to protect Alicia from the discomfort of hearing what she already knew. Something inside Jasmine went still. Months earlier, that moment would have destroyed her. She would have seen it as proof that Alicia mattered more, proof that Andre cared more about protecting another woman's feelings than facing his wife's pain. But tonight she saw something else. The same man, the same pattern. Protect whoever was in front of him. Say whatever might reduce the discomfort of the moment. Deal with the consequences later. Jasmine looked at Andre. "Do you remember when you told me you ended things with her?" Andre's eyes moved toward Alicia. Alicia looked at him. Jasmine watched both of them. Andre slowly turned back to her. "Yes. You told me it was over." "I said no." His mouth closed. Jasmine leaned forward. "You told me it was over." Andre rubbed his forehead. "Jasmine, this is not the way to do this." "Then tell me what the right way was." He said nothing. She waited. Alicia looked between them. Andre finally said, "I told you I wanted to work on our marriage." Jasmine nodded. "You did. I meant that. Did you?" Andre looked offended. "Yes." Jasmine turned toward Alicia. "What did he tell you?" Andre's head snapped toward her. "Alicia." Jasmine held up her hand. "No, let her answer." Alicia looked uncomfortable. "I don't want to be in the middle of this." Jasmine's voice remained quiet. You already are. Alicia flinched. Jasmine saw it and immediately understood the difference between cruelty and truth. She did not want to hurt Alicia for the sake of hurting her. But pretending the situation was something softer would only continue the same lie that had brought them to this table. Alicia looked at Andre. He stared back at her. For a moment, Jasmine wondered what Alicia was waiting for. Permission? A signal? Another instruction from the man who had spent months telling both of them when the truth could be spoken? Jasmine leaned back. Alicia, I'm not asking you to defend yourself. Alicia looked at her. Then what are you asking? The truth. Andre exhaled sharply. Jasmine. She ignored him. Alicia looked down at the table. Then she said, He told me he was trying to figure things out. Jasmine did not move. With his marriage? She asked. Alicia nodded. Andre closed his eyes. Jasmine looked at him. There it was. Not surprise. Not denial. Confirmation. Alicia continued, He said things were complicated. Jasmine let out a quiet breath. Of course he had. Complicated. Another word that could mean anything. Another word that allowed Andre to avoid saying exactly what he had done. Alicia looked at Jasmine. He told me he loved you. Andre looked at her. Alicia. But she kept going. He said he didn't want to hurt you. Jasmine's face did not change. And what did he say about you? Alicia hesitated. Andre leaned forward. Don't. Jasmine turned toward him. Don't what? He looked at her. Don't put her in this position. Jasmine stared at him. Then she looked toward Alicia again, and suddenly Alicia seemed to understand something too, because she spoke before Andre could stop her. He said he needed time. Jasmine's fingers tightened around her napkin. Alicia swallowed. He said he didn't know what his life was going to look like. Andre stood again. That's enough. Jasmine looked up at him. No, his voice dropped. Yes. Alicia pushed her chair back slightly. Maybe I should go. Jasmine immediately turned toward her. Please don't. Andre looked at Jasmine as if he could no longer recognize her. Why are you doing this? That question again. Why? Jasmine looked at him for a long time. Then she said, Because you told me you were choosing our marriage. Andre said nothing. She continued. You told her you needed time to decide. Alicia's eyes moved toward Andre. Jasmine looked at both of them. And somehow both of us were supposed to stay exactly where you left us. Andre finally sat back down. His voice was quieter now. It's not that simple. Jasmine gave a small, tired smile. No, it isn't. She looked directly at him. But that's the problem. Every time the truth gets close to being simple, you make it complicated enough to survive another day. Andre stared at her. Alicia stopped moving. The table went quiet. Jasmine looked down at the third place setting. 3 glasses, 3 plates, 3 people, and for the first time, all 3 were hearing the same version of the truth. She lifted her eyes toward Andre. Tell me something. He looked exhausted. Jasmine, do you love her? Andre froze. Alicia stopped breathing for a moment. Jasmine waited. Andre looked toward Alicia, then back at Jasmine. His answer came slowly. I care about her. Jasmine nodded once. That wasn't my question. Andre looked down. Alicia's face tightened. Jasmine waited. He still did not answer. Then Jasmine asked the next question. Do you love me? Andre looked at her immediately. Yes. The answer came too quickly, too easily, and somehow that hurt more, because Jasmine believed him. That was the part she had struggled with for months. Andre did love her. He could look at her after everything he had done and still mean those words. He loved her. And he had still lied. He loved her. And he had still gone back to Alicia. He loved her. And he had still left her waiting for answers he refused to give. Jasmine slowly leaned back. Alicia was watching her now. Andre was waiting for her to say something. But Jasmine said nothing. Because one truth had finally become impossible to ignore. Love was not the missing piece. It had never been. And suddenly, Jasmine knew exactly what she had to ask him next. Jasmine looked at Andre. He was waiting for her to react. Maybe he expected anger. Maybe tears. Maybe another question about Alicia. For months, Jasmine had asked so many questions that she sometimes felt as though her entire marriage had become an interview she could never finish. Who was Alicia? How long had this been happening? Did you sleep with her? Did you love her? Did you ever plan to tell me? Are you still talking to her? Why did you lie? Every answer had led somewhere else. Every explanation had opened another door. But sitting across from Andre now, with Alicia beside them and 3 untouched glasses on the table, Jasmine understood that she had spent too long asking questions about the past. The past mattered. She would never pretend it did not. But she suddenly knew there was only one question left that could tell her whether she should continue giving her future to this man. Andre reached for her hand. Jasmine moved hers away before he could touch it. His eyes dropped. Alicia looked down at her lap. Jasmine took a slow breath. Okay. Andre looked at her. Okay? Yes. Her voice was quiet. Too quiet for what was happening inside her. You love me. Andre nodded. Yes. You care about Alicia. His expression changed. Jasmine saw the answer before he gave it. And I don't even need you to explain what that means, she said. I don't need you to rank us. I don't need you to tell me who you care about more. Jasmine, no, please. Andre stopped. She looked at him. I have spent too much time believing the answer to all of this was hidden somewhere inside how you felt about one of us. Alicia raised her eyes. Jasmine continued. I thought if you loved her more, then that would explain everything. Andre opened his mouth. She lifted her hand. I thought if you loved me enough, then maybe we could fix everything. Her voice tightened slightly. But you can love someone and still lie to them. Andre's face fell. You can love someone and still hurt them. Jasmine looked toward Alicia for only a moment before returning her attention to Andre. And you can care about two people at the same time while refusing to be honest with either one. Andre looked down. Jasmine's voice became firmer. That is what you did. He did not argue. For the first time all evening, he had no quick explanation, no sentence about things being complicated, no request for privacy, no attempt to slow the conversation down until everyone was calm enough for him to escape making a decision. Jasmine leaned forward. So I'm not going to ask you whether you love me. Andre looked up. She continued. And I'm not going to ask you whether you love Alicia. Alicia shifted beside her. Jasmine's eyes never left Andre. I'm going to ask you something else. Andre stared at her. The restaurant continued moving around them. A server passed behind Jasmine carrying a tray. Someone at another table laughed. Glasses touched somewhere near the bar. None of it seemed connected to the three people sitting at that table. Jasmine said, Do you actually want this marriage, or do you just want me to stay until you decide what you want? Andre's face went completely still. Jasmine waited. There it was. The silence. The place where Andre usually began searching for words that would keep the moment from demanding too much from him. Jasmine did not rescue him from it. Alicia did not speak. Andre looked at Jasmine, then at the table, then toward Alicia. Jasmine felt something inside her become strangely calm, not because she knew what he would say, because for once she knew what she would do with whatever he said. Andre rubbed both hands across his face. Jasmine, She waited. I don't want to lose you. That wasn't my question. I know. Then answer it. Andre swallowed. Jasmine could see him struggling. Maybe he really was confused. Maybe he had convinced himself that confusion was different from choosing not to decide. Maybe he had spent so long avoiding the hardest truth that he no longer knew what an honest answer felt like. But Jasmine was finished translating uncertainty into hope. Andre looked at her again. I need time. Jasmine nodded slowly. That's what you've been saying. Because this isn't simple. No. She looked toward Alicia, then back at him. But neither of us made it complicated. Andre's eyes closed. Jasmine continued. You did. Alicia's face tightened. Andre leaned back. I never wanted to hurt either of you. Jasmine stared at him. That may be true. He looked surprised. She nodded. I believe you. Andre's expression changed. But wanting to avoid hurting us isn't the same as actually protecting us. His shoulders dropped. You kept saying you needed time because time was easier for you than a decision. Every day you didn't decide, Alicia waited. Every day you didn't decide, I waited. Andre looked toward Alicia. She said nothing. Jasmine continued. And somehow, you were the only person at the center of this who didn't have to live with the uncertainty you created. Andre's voice was barely above a whisper. I did live with it. Jasmine shook her head. No, you lived beside it. That landed differently. Andre looked away. Jasmine did not raise her voice. She no longer needed to. Living with uncertainty is waking up every morning and wondering if the person you married is still telling you the truth. Andre's face tightened. Living with uncertainty is looking at another woman's name on your husband's phone and wondering how much of your life you don't know. Her voice caught for the first time. She took a breath and continued. And apparently for Alicia, it meant waiting for a married man to decide whether he was really leaving his marriage. Alicia lowered her eyes. Jasmine looked at Andre. You got to be uncertain. We got to be consequences of it. Andre's eyes filled. I didn't see it like that. I know. The words were not cruel. That was what made them worse. Jasmine believed him. He had not seen it. He had been so focused on avoiding the pain of making a choice that he had allowed two other people to carry the pain of his refusal to choose. Andre looked at her. I can fix this. Jasmine almost asked him how. But she had heard promises before. She had heard I'll do whatever it takes. She had heard I want us. She had heard I don't want to lose you. And none of those sentences answered the question sitting between them. She looked at him. Then answer me. Andre said nothing. Do you want this marriage? He looked at her. Jasmine waited. The silence stretched. Andre's lips parted, then closed again. Alicia looked at him. Jasmine did not. She kept her eyes on her husband. The man she had loved. The man she had trusted. The man whose uncertainty had taken months from her life, while she waited for clarity that should never have required this much pain. Finally, Andre spoke. I don't know. Jasmine did not move, neither did Alicia. Andre looked as if the words had frightened him as soon as he heard them. I mean... Jasmine shook her head. He stopped. There was nothing left to clarify, nothing left to soften, nothing left to reinterpret. For months, Jasmine had feared that Andre might say those exact words. Tonight, they no longer frightened her. Because suddenly she understood something she had refused to understand before. He was not going to give her the answer she wanted. Maybe he could not, maybe he would not. But either way, she had spent enough time allowing his uncertainty to become the center of her life. Jasmine looked at him. That's your answer? Andre's face changed. No. Yes. I just need more time. Jasmine looked down at the anniversary table, the flowers, the candles, the untouched glasses, the third chair. Months of fear and comparison had led her to believe that she was sitting across from a woman she needed to defeat. She had been wrong. Alicia had not taken her marriage away. Andre had damaged it through choices he made himself, and Jasmine had damaged herself by waiting for him to decide when she deserved to stop hurting. She stood. Andre immediately rose from his chair. Jasmine. She picked up her purse. He reached for her arm. This time she stepped back, not dramatically, not angrily, just far enough to make the distance clear. Andre looked at her. Please don't leave like this. Jasmine held his eyes. You've been asking for time. He stared at her. She continued. Then you have time. Andre's face broke. Jasmine felt her own heart breaking with it. This was not freedom yet. It did not feel brave. It felt painful. It felt like walking away from the life she had expected to have. But she finally understood that pain did not always mean she was making the wrong decision. Sometimes pain was simply the cost of accepting the truth. Jasmine looked at Andre one last time. Then she said, It means I'm not giving you mine. Andre whispered her name. But Jasmine turned away. She walked past the other tables, past the entrance, past the hostess who looked at her with concern but said nothing. Then the restaurant door opened, and Jasmine stepped outside. The warm Atlanta night met her face. For several seconds she stood on the sidewalk without moving. She could still hear the restaurant behind her. She could still imagine Andre sitting at that table, Alicia beside him, the third chair no longer empty. But Jasmine was not going back inside. Not tonight. She began walking. And as she moved farther from the restaurant, the question that had carried her through so many sleepless nights finally changed. She stopped asking herself why she had not been enough. For the first time, Jasmine began asking how she had spent so long waiting for someone else to decide what she deserved. And that question brought her back to the beginning, back to before Alicia, back to before the lies, back to the man she met in Atlanta, and the marriage she had once believed was safe. Jasmine had never believed that love was supposed to keep proving itself by being exciting. She was 31 now, and she knew enough about life to understand that excitement could be easy to mistake for safety. A person could make your heart race and still make your life miserable. A relationship could look beautiful from the outside and leave you exhausted inside it. What Jasmine had always wanted was something quieter. Someone who remembered how she took her coffee. Someone who could sit beside her after a bad day without demanding that she immediately become cheerful again. Someone who would argue with her, because Jasmine had never trusted the idea that healthy couples never argued, but who would still come back to the conversation instead of disappearing emotionally and pretending nothing had happened. To Jasmine, love was built in ordinary moments. It was asking, "Did you eat?" It was bringing home dinner when the other person had worked too late. It was remembering an important meeting. It was knowing when an apology was necessary. It was choosing each other when there was nothing particularly romantic happening. That was why Andre surprised her. By the time Jasmine met him in Atlanta, she had become tired of dating people who seemed more interested in performing interest than actually being interested. She had gone through enough conversations that felt promising at first and empty a few weeks later. Enough messages that started with enthusiasm and ended with silence. Enough dates where both people seemed to be waiting for the other to say the correct thing. Andre did not feel like that. They met through friends at a casual get-together. Neither of them seemed particularly excited to attend. Jasmine almost left early. Andre almost did too. Instead, they ended up talking. Not dramatically. There was no moment when the room disappeared, no instant certainty, no story Jasmine would later tell that sounded better than it really was. Andre made her laugh. That was the first thing she remembered. He was talking about something that had happened at work, and Jasmine noticed that he was good at telling stories. He was expressive without trying too hard. He could make a simple situation sound ridiculous, then stop in the middle of laughing because he had made himself laugh harder than anyone else. Jasmine found that strangely endearing. He also had opinions, strong ones. That became obvious before the evening was over. Jasmine disagreed with one of them. Andre looked at her. "No, you're wrong," Jasmine laughed. "That's your argument?" "It is when you're obviously wrong." She stared at him. "See? This is why I don't know you. You don't have to know me to know you're wrong." That should have annoyed her. Instead, she laughed again. Andre was stubborn, she learned that quickly, but he was not careless with people. There was a difference. He could defend his point until Jasmine wanted to throw something at him, then noticed that she was genuinely upset and immediately change. Not because he suddenly agreed, because he cared that he had hurt her. That distinction mattered to Jasmine. A few days after they met, Andre asked her out. His work kept him busy, and Jasmine could tell even then that he was the kind of man who sometimes carried too much responsibility without admitting it. He could be distracted. He could answer a question while clearly thinking about 3 other things. But when they were together, he tried to be present. Not perfectly, tried. Jasmine noticed the difference. Their relationship did not begin with a rush of promises. It began with repetition. Dinner, phone calls, long conversations, arguments that somehow turned into laughter. Andre learning that Jasmine hated being interrupted when she was explaining something important. Jasmine learning that Andre became defensive when he felt criticized, even when criticism was fair. Andre learning that Jasmine needed time before discussing certain things when she was upset. Jasmine learning that silence from Andre usually meant he was thinking, not withdrawing. They made mistakes. Then they adjusted. That was what made the relationship feel safe. Not that they understood each other immediately, that they kept learning. There were nights Jasmine left Andre's apartment irritated with him, only for her phone to ring before she reached the next intersection. "Andre." "What? You left angry?" "Yes, I know." "Then why are you calling?" A pause. "Because I don't like that." Jasmine would smile despite herself. "You don't get to decide when I'm angry." "I know." "Then, I'm still calling." Sometimes that was enough, other times it wasn't. Andre could frustrate her in ways that made her want to stay angry simply because forgiving him too quickly felt like rewarding him. But he kept coming back to the conversation. That mattered. 3 years passed. Not perfectly, not without problems, but naturally enough that Jasmine stopped thinking of her life in terms of herself and Andre as separate futures. They became a unit gradually. Plans were no longer, "What am I doing next month?" They became, "What are we doing?" That change frightened Jasmine more than she admitted, not because she doubted Andre, because she understood what trust actually required. You could not build a life with someone while keeping 1 foot outside the relationship in case it failed. At some point, you had to step in. Jasmine did. Andre did too. At least, she believed he had. The day he proposed was so ordinary that Jasmine later struggled to understand why she remembered every detail. They had spent most of the day running errands. Nothing romantic. Nothing worth documenting. By the time they returned to their apartment, Jasmine was tired and annoyed because Andre had taken longer than necessary over something she could no longer remember. She dropped her things near the door. Andre was quieter than usual. Jasmine barely noticed. She was talking about something else. Then, half joking, she said something about how exhausting marriage would probably be. Andre looked at her. "Marriage?" Jasmine laughed. "Relax." "I am relaxed." "No, you're not." "I am." She narrowed her eyes. Andre walked away. Jasmine called after him. "Are you seriously mad?" "No." "Then why are you walking away?" "I'll be right back." Jasmine stood there, confused. Andre disappeared into the other room. For several seconds she heard nothing, then he came back. And Jasmine knew, not because he suddenly looked polished or prepared. The opposite. Andre looked nervous, truly nervous. His hands were not steady. His voice changed when he tried to speak. Jasmine stared at him. Andre, he said her name, then stopped. That was when she realized how frightened he was. Not frightened of her, frightened of the moment. Frightened because the question mattered. When he finally got down on one knee, Jasmine's first reaction was not tears. It was disbelief. "Are you serious?" Andre gave a strained laugh. "Jasmine, no, seriously?" He laughed again. "Please stop making this harder." That was when she started crying. Later, Jasmine would remember the ring. She would remember saying yes. She would remember Andre standing up too quickly and holding her as if he had been holding his breath for the entire proposal. But what stayed with her most was his nervousness. Andre had wanted something enough to be vulnerable. He had stood in front of her without certainty that she would say yes, and Jasmine had trusted that version of him. She trusted the man who could be stubborn and still apologize, the man who could annoy her and still call back, the man who could become defensive and eventually listen, the man who had looked terrified while asking her to build a life with him. When Jasmine married Andre, she did not believe she was marrying a perfect man. She believed she was marrying a real one. And that was why, years later, when she sat across from him and tried to understand how he could love her while lying to her, the question hurt as much as the betrayal itself. Because the man who had once looked at her with fear, hope, and complete openness had become the man she could no longer get a straight answer from. But Jasmine did not know that yet. Not then. Then, she only knew that Andre had asked her to marry him. And she had looked at the man she believed she understood, and said yes. The first years of Jasmine and Andre's marriage were not dramatic. They were busy. They built routines around work, groceries, bills, family events, and the ordinary responsibilities that arrived quietly and never seemed to leave. Jasmine worked in project management in healthcare. Her days were organized around schedules, deadlines, meetings, and solving problems before they became bigger ones. Andre's work was demanding too. At first, they adjusted easily. If Jasmine got home late, Andre handled dinner. If Andre had an early morning, Jasmine made sure the apartment stayed quiet. They did not keep score. That was one of the things Jasmine loved about their marriage. But over time, life became fuller, and somehow, Jasmine began carrying more of the things nobody saw. Remembering dates, planning family visits, checking whether something needed replacing, thinking ahead. Andre handled practical problems when they appeared, but Jasmine was usually the one making sure they were noticed in the first place. She did not resent him immediately. She simply became tired. Andre did too. Their conversations became shorter. "How was your day?" "Long." "Mine too." Then they would eat, watch something, and promise to talk properly later. Later came less often. Jasmine noticed Andre arriving home later than usual. At first, every explanation made sense. Traffic, a meeting, work running late, a co-worker needing something. Nothing was impossible. Nothing proved anything. So Jasmine believed him. She refused to become suspicious just because her husband was busy. Instead, she tried to pull them closer. She planned dinners, suggested weekend trips, bought tickets to a concert she knew Andre would enjoy. He went, he smiled, he held her hand. But Jasmine began noticing something she could not explain. Andre was there. He just did not always seem fully present. One night, they sat on the couch after dinner. Andre was beside her, staring at his phone. Jasmine had been speaking for several seconds before she realized he had not heard a word. "Andre?" He looked up. "What?" "You've been saying that a lot, because there's a lot of work." Jasmine nodded. Andre placed his phone face down beside him. "Are you okay?" The question caught her off guard. "I'm asking you that." "I know, but you look upset." Jasmine wanted to say more. She wanted to ask why he felt farther away while sitting right beside her. Instead, she said, "I'm fine." Andre nodded. "Good." Then he reached for her hand. Jasmine let him take it. For a while, they sat quietly. She told herself not to create a problem where there wasn't one. Not every quiet period in a marriage meant something was wrong. Not every late night needed an explanation beyond work. Not every person who looked distracted was hiding something. So Jasmine chose trust. She did not know yet that sometimes the most painful betrayals began long before there was enough evidence to name them. For now, she only knew that she was reaching toward her husband more often, and Andre somehow seemed to be standing farther away. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Jasmine was in the kitchen reheating leftovers while Andre was upstairs changing out of his work clothes. His phone was on the counter. Jasmine barely noticed it. Then the screen lit up. One name appeared. Alicia. Jasmine looked down. The message preview was short. "I know you said you needed space tonight. I just wish you didn't always have to go back to pretending." Jasmine stopped breathing. For a moment she simply stared at the screen. Then Andre came downstairs. He saw his phone, he saw Jasmine, and stopped. "Who is Alicia?" Andre didn't answer. That silence changed everything. "Who is she? Jasmine, who is she?" He walked toward the counter, but Jasmine picked up the phone first. Andre's face tightened. "Give me my phone." "No, it isn't what you think." Jasmine looked at him. "Then tell me what I should think." Andre said nothing, and that was the beginning. The truth did not arrive all at once. First, Andre said they had been talking. Then he admitted the conversations had become personal. Then he admitted they had kissed. Jasmine kept asking questions. Andre kept giving answers that seemed to leave something behind. She learned Alicia was 29. She learned the conversations had not ended when Andre first claimed they had, and every new piece of information made Jasmine wonder what she still didn't know. That night, Jasmine slept in the guest room. The next morning she went to work. She answered emails, attended meetings, spoke to people as if her life had not changed the night before. Then she went home and searched for Alicia. She found photographs. She looked too long at her face, her clothes, her body, the places she went, the life she seemed to have. And then Jasmine found one of Andre's messages. "With you, everything feels easy." Jasmine stared at those words. Easy. Was that what she had become? Difficult? Had marriage turned her into responsibility while Alicia became escape? Andre found her sitting in silence later that night. "We need to talk." Jasmine looked up at him. "You've been saying that for 2 days." "I know." "Then talk." Andre sat across from her. "It was a mistake." Jasmine's expression changed. No, Andre looked at her. Jasmine stood. "You made choices." Andre lowered his eyes. Jasmine walked away before he could say anything else, because she still loved him. Andre wanted another chance, and Jasmine wanted answers. But none of them knew yet what rebuilding a marriage was supposed to look like after the truth had finally entered the room. Andre said he had ended things with Alicia. Jasmine wanted to believe him. That was the problem. If she had stopped loving him the moment she saw Alicia's name on his phone, everything afterward might have been easier. She could have packed a bag, walked away, and refused to listen to another explanation. Instead, she listened. And Andre seemed to understand, at least at first. He came home earlier. He stopped carrying his phone from room to room. When a message arrived, he no longer turned the screen away from Jasmine. He asked questions too. "Are you okay? How was work? Do you want to talk?" Sometimes Jasmine almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because Andre was suddenly trying to ask about feelings he had spent months avoiding. They started counseling. The first therapist was a poor fit. Jasmine knew it after the second session. Every conversation seemed to end with both of them being told to communicate better. Andre liked that. Jasmine did not. "We're communicating," she said afterward. Andre looked at her. "Then what's the problem?" Jasmine turned toward the window. "You're still acting like this happened because we didn't talk enough." Andre was quiet. The second therapist was different. She did not let Andre hide inside general statements. During one session, she looked at Jasmine. "What would rebuilding trust look like for you?" Jasmine opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She had spent so much time thinking about what Andre had done that she had not considered what repairing it would actually require. Andre leaned forward. "I'd do whatever it takes." The therapist looked at him. "What does that mean?" Andre paused. "Whatever Jasmine needs." "And what does she need?" He looked at Jasmine. Jasmine felt something inside her sink. The therapist waited. Andre finally said, "I don't know." Jasmine looked down. There it was again, a promise that sounded meaningful, until someone asked what it actually meant. Life continued anyway. Jasmine still went to work. Andre still went to work. They still bought groceries, still washed dishes, still answered messages about family plans. Then Andre's mother's birthday arrived. Jasmine almost refused to go. But she knew people would ask questions if she stayed home, and she did not have the strength to explain her marriage to anyone. So she went. She smiled. She ate. She answered questions. Andre's hand rested against her back whenever someone looked in their direction. From the outside, they looked fine. Jasmine hated how easily they could still perform being fine. By the time they got into the car afterward, she was exhausted. Andre started the engine. Neither of them spoke. Finally he said, "I hate this." Jasmine looked at him. "This? The way we're living?" She faced forward again. "Then why are we living like this?" Andre's hands tightened around the steering wheel. "I don't know." Jasmine turned toward him slowly. He kept his eyes on the road. For months, those 3 words had sounded like confusion. Now they sounded different. He didn't know what he wanted. He didn't know why he had done it. He didn't know what Jasmine needed. Every answer left him in the same position, waiting, thinking, avoiding. But Jasmine was not protected by his uncertainty. She still woke up beside the consequences. She still carried the questions to work. She still had to decide whether she believed him when he said Alicia was gone. Andre finally spoke again. "I know that sounds terrible." Jasmine looked out the window. "It doesn't sound terrible." He glanced at her. "No?" She shook her head. "It sounds easy." Andre said nothing, and for the rest of the drive home, Jasmine began to understand something she had not wanted to see. Andre's uncertainty had consequences for everyone around him, except Andre. Jasmine told herself she was going to stop checking Alicia's social media. She lasted 4 days. On the 5th evening, Andre came home later than usual. He kissed Jasmine on the cheek, dropped his keys on the counter, and walked past her. Jasmine noticed the scent before she could stop herself. Perfume, faint, unfamiliar. She stood in the kitchen, staring at his back. "Where were you?" Andre turned. "At work. Were you with Alicia?" His face changed. "No." The answer came quickly, too quickly. Jasmine crossed her arms. "Then why do you smell like perfume?" Andre looked down at his shirt. "I don't know." "There it is again." He frowned. "What?" "I don't know." Andre's expression hardened. "Jasmine, I didn't see Alicia." She wanted to believe him. But belief was no longer something she could force. That night, after Andre went to bed, Jasmine opened Alicia's social media again. She searched through photographs from the past few weeks, restaurants, events, group pictures. She found one photograph taken inside a restaurant and stared at the background. For nearly 10 minutes she searched every face. Andre was not there. There was no proof. Still, Jasmine could not sleep. The next morning she confronted him again. Andre stared at her. "You searched for me in her pictures? I was trying to find out if you were lying." "I told you I wasn't, and I used to believe you when you told me things." That stopped him. Andre sat down. "What do you want me to do?" Jasmine laughed without humor. "That is always your question." "Because I want to fix this." "No, you want instructions." Andre frowned. "What is the difference?" "I don't want to create a list of tasks so you can tell yourself you've repaired what you broke. I need to know what you need." Jasmine looked at him. "I need you to know that lying is wrong without me explaining why." He said nothing. "I need you to understand that I shouldn't have to investigate my own husband." Andre looked away. "And I need you to stop acting like if I give you the right instructions, this becomes something you can complete." The conversation ended there, but Jasmine did not stop looking for answers. This time she looked more carefully at how Alicia and Andre had become connected. The answer made her feel worse. Alicia was connected to Andre's professional world. They had opportunities to speak, to message, to continue conversations after work ended. Nothing about it had happened once by accident. Andre could have stopped, at any point. He could have ended a conversation, ignored a message, set a boundary, walked away. Instead, he continued. Jasmine sat alone with that realization. She had spent weeks thinking about Alicia as if Alicia were the force that had entered her life and taken something from her. But Andre had opened the door. Andre had answered. Andre had returned. This had not been fate. It had been choice. Jasmine picked up her phone. Her hands were shaking when she searched for Alicia's contact information. She stared at the blank message for a long time. Then she typed, "We need to talk." She almost deleted it. Instead, she pressed send. The reply came later. "No, I don't think that's a good idea." Jasmine stared at the screen. Then she wrote, "You don't have to think it's a good idea." Several minutes passed. Then another message appeared. An address, a coffee shop. Jasmine read it twice. Then she put her phone down. For weeks she had imagined Alicia as someone larger than life, someone she had to defeat to save her marriage. Now Jasmine was going to sit across from her and finally find out what Andre had been telling them both. Jasmine arrived at the coffee shop early. She chose a table near the window, then immediately regretted it. Too visible. She considered moving. Then she considered leaving. For several minutes she stared at the door and wondered why she had come. What did she expect Alicia to say? Sorry, I love him. He lied to me too? None of it could undo what Jasmine already knew. Still, she stayed. When the door opened again, Jasmine knew Alicia immediately. Not because she looked exactly like the photographs, because Jasmine had spent too much time studying those photographs. Alicia walked toward the table. She looked nervous, that unsettled Jasmine. She had expected confidence, maybe even satisfaction. Instead, Alicia looked like someone who wanted to be anywhere else. Jasmine? Jasmine nodded. Alicia sat down for a few seconds. Neither woman spoke. Jasmine looked at her. She was ordinary. That thought made Jasmine uncomfortable. Not because Alicia lacked beauty, she was beautiful. But there was nothing about her that explained why Jasmine had spent weeks turning herself inside out. Nothing that answered why Andre had chosen to cross a line. Jasmine finally spoke. How long did you know he was married? Alicia looked down. From the beginning. Jasmine's jaw tightened. And you still got involved with him? Alicia nodded slowly. Yes. The honesty surprised her. Why? Alicia looked up. He told me the marriage was basically over. Jasmine stared at her. Why did you believe him? Alicia's face tightened. Because that's what he told me. Jasmine looked away. The answer made her angry, not because it was complicated, because it was simple. Andre had spoken. Alicia had believed him. Jasmine turned back to her. He told me he ended things with you. Alicia frowned. What? Jasmine watched her carefully. He said he ended it. Alicia sat still. Then she said, he told me he needed time. Jasmine's face changed. Time for what? To figure out his marriage. Jasmine stared at her. Alicia continued. He said he didn't know what he wanted. The words landed heavily. Jasmine leaned back. Andre had been telling her he wanted to rebuild. He had been telling Alicia he needed time. Jasmine had thought she was fighting another woman for her husband. But Andre had created two different realities. To Jasmine, he was a man trying to repair his marriage. To Alicia, he was a man standing halfway inside that marriage, waiting to see whether he would leave. Neither woman had received a real decision. Jasmine looked at Alicia. Did he ever tell you he was going to leave me? Alicia hesitated. No. Did he tell you he was staying? No. Jasmine almost laughed. Of course. Andre had found the one position that required the least from him. He had kept Jasmine hopeful. He had kept Alicia waiting. And while both women tried to understand where they stood, Andre remained free to avoid choosing. Jasmine sat back. For the first time since discovering Alicia, she saw the situation differently. Alicia was not innocent. She had known Andre was married. She had made her own choices. But Alicia had not stood beside Jasmine and made vows. Alicia had not promised Jasmine honesty. Alicia had not gone home to Jasmine and told her everything was over. Andre had done those things. Andre had created the betrayal. Andre had continued it. Andre had shaped the stories both women had been living inside. When Jasmine finally left the coffee shop, she did not feel better. She felt clearer. Alicia was not the woman Jasmine needed to defeat. There was nothing to win from her. The person Jasmine needed to confront was the man who had made her believe another woman was the center of her marriage's destruction. And for the first time, Jasmine's anger began moving away from Alicia. It turned fully back toward Andre. After meeting Alicia, Jasmine stopped listening to Andre's words the same way. Before, every apology had created hope. Now she began asking herself a different question. What happened after the apology? Andre said he loved her, but then what? He said he was sorry, but then what? He said he wanted their marriage, but every practical question seemed to lead somewhere else. More counseling, more patience, more time, more space. Always later. Never now. One evening they were sitting in the living room when Jasmine looked at him. Are you still talking to Alicia? Andre froze. Jasmine felt the answer before he spoke. Yes. The room went silent. Jasmine stared at him. You told me you ended it. I know. You lied. Andre rubbed his hands together. I know. She had expected anger. Instead, she felt tired. Jasmine looked at him. What do you actually want? Andre immediately answered, You. Jasmine shook her head. No. His face changed. You asked me what I wanted. And you gave me the answer you thought would end the conversation. That isn't fair. Isn't it? Andre stood. Jasmine, I love you. She remained seated. That still isn't my question. He looked at her helplessly. Jasmine repeated herself. What do you want? Andre stared at her. Finally, he said, The marriage. Jasmine nodded slowly. Then why are you still talking to Alicia? Andre looked away. There it was, the silence. Jasmine waited. He sat back down. I don't know. Jasmine closed her eyes. Andre began speaking again. I know how that sounds. She opened her eyes. No, you don't. He stopped. Jasmine stood and walked toward the window. For months she had been waiting for an explanation that would make everything fit. A reason beneath the choices. Something painful but understandable. Now she wondered if there was nothing hidden underneath at all. Maybe Andre did not have an explanation. Maybe he had simply wanted what he wanted in each moment. His marriage when he was afraid of losing it. Alicia when he wanted what existed outside it. Time whenever someone demanded that he choose. Jasmine turned back toward him. You know what scares me? Andre said nothing. I keep thinking that if you could just explain this properly, I would understand what happened. He watched her, but maybe there isn't an explanation waiting for me. Jasmine, maybe this is it. Andre's face tightened. She continued. You don't know because you don't want to know. That isn't true. Then tell me. He couldn't. Jasmine nodded once. Something inside her changed. Not dramatically. There was no sudden relief, no freedom, just the slow disappearance of one belief. The belief that Andre would eventually give her the answer that would make her next decision easier. She looked at him. I may never get the explanation I've been waiting for. Andre's eyes filled. Jasmine continued. And I think I've been using that as a reason not to decide anything. He stood. What are you saying? Jasmine looked toward the hallway. I don't know yet. Then she walked away. But this time those words belonged to her, and Andre was the one left sitting with them. Jasmine left 2 days later. Not permanently. She told Andre she needed space, packed a small bag and left the house. Andre asked where she was going. Jasmine told him she would be safe. He asked when she would return. I don't know. The words came easily this time. Jasmine spent the next few days with a friend, but she did not spend every hour talking about Andre. That surprised her. For months, her marriage had taken up so much space inside her that she had almost forgotten how to think about anything else. One morning, she bought coffee and walked through Atlanta without deciding where she was going. She passed people rushing to work, couples sitting together outside restaurants, someone arguing on a phone, someone laughing loudly, ordinary people carrying ordinary lives. And Jasmine realized that everyone she passed probably had something waiting for them when they went home. A problem, a decision, a loss, something they were trying not to think about. She sat alone in a park with her coffee growing cold in her hands. For the first time, she stopped trying to understand Andre. Maybe she would never understand him completely. Maybe she did not need to. That did not make what happened smaller. It simply meant she was tired of making her future dependent on an answer he could not give. When Jasmine returned home, Andre was waiting. He stood when she entered. Are you staying? Jasmine put her bag down. For now. His face changed. For now? Yes. Andre nodded slowly. Jasmine looked at him. I am not saying we're fixed. I know. And I'm not saying I'm leaving. Andre remained silent. But I'm done sitting here waiting for you to solve this. He looked at her. Jasmine continued. You created this situation. You keep saying you don't know what you want. Fine. Andre lowered his eyes. But I'm allowed to decide what I want while you're still confused. Something in Andre's expression shifted. Jasmine had always been waiting for him to speak first, waiting for his explanation, waiting for his decision. Now she was stepping outside that waiting. Their anniversary was less than a month away. Andre mentioned it one evening while they were cleaning up after dinner. Are we doing anything? Jasmine looked at him. Our anniversary. He nodded. I don't know if that's appropriate. Jasmine almost smiled. Appropriate? I mean, with everything. She dried her hands. What do you want to do? Andre hesitated. I thought maybe dinner. Jasmine looked at him for a moment, then she said, Okay. He seemed surprised. Okay? Yes. So we're having dinner? Jasmine nodded. We're having dinner. Andre looked relieved. Jasmine said nothing else. The next morning, while sitting alone with her coffee, she opened her laptop. She searched for a restaurant. She chose a date, their anniversary. Then she made a reservation. A confirmation email appeared on her screen. Jasmine read it once, then again, reservation confirmed. She looked at the number of guests. 3. For a long time, Jasmine stared at the screen. Then she closed the laptop. After making the reservation, Jasmine became calmer. Andre noticed. She still spoke to him. She still ate dinner with him. They still discussed work, bills, groceries, and everything else that continued, even when a marriage was in trouble. But Jasmine stopped reaching for reassurance. She no longer asked whether he loved her. She no longer asked what he was thinking. She no longer searched his face for signs that he was finally becoming the man she needed him to be. Andre noticed the distance. One evening he found her sitting quietly in the living room. "Are you okay?" Jasmine looked up. "Yes." "Are you sure?" "Yes." He stood there for a moment. "You seem different." "I am different." Andre sat across from her. "What does that mean?" Jasmine looked at him. "It means I'm tired of asking you questions you don't answer." His face fell. "I've been trying." "I know." That was the strange part. She believed he had been trying. But trying was not the same as changing. Andre looked down. Then he said, "Are we still having dinner for our anniversary?" Jasmine nodded. "Yes." He looked relieved. "Okay." She did not tell him anything else. 2 days before their anniversary, Jasmine contacted Alicia. The message was simple. "I reserved a place for you," Alicia replied almost immediately. "No." Jasmine stared at the response. Then she typed, "I'm tired of all of us talking about different versions of the same situation." Several minutes passed. Finally, Alicia replied, "Why now?" Jasmine looked at the screen for a long time. Then she wrote, "Because I've spent too much time wondering what you have that I don't." The response took longer this time. When it came, Jasmine read it twice. "I never asked you to compare yourself to me." Jasmine closed her eyes. Alicia was right. Andre had created the circumstances, but Jasmine had carried the comparison herself. She had studied Alicia's photographs, compared her appearance, her body, her clothes, her life, as if discovering what made Alicia different would explain why Andre had betrayed her. Jasmine typed back, "I know, that's the point." Alicia did not respond immediately. Jasmine set her phone down. She was not inviting Alicia to compete. She was not planning revenge. She did not want to embarrass anyone. She wanted one thing, the truth. One table, one conversation, no private explanations, no separate promises, no different stories told to different women. Her phone finally lit up. "I'll come." Jasmine stared at the message. Then she stood and walked to the kitchen. Andre was there. He looked at her. "Everything okay?" Jasmine met his eyes. "Yes." That was all she said. The anniversary arrived 2 days later. Andre dressed carefully. Jasmine noticed but said nothing. He seemed nervous in the car. She could not tell whether he was hoping the dinner meant something good or simply afraid of what she might say. When they arrived at the restaurant, Jasmine stepped inside beside him. The hostess led them toward their table. Andre walked normally until he saw it. Then he slowed down. 3 place settings, 3 chairs. Jasmine pulled out her chair. Andre remained standing. His eyes moved from the empty chair to her face. "Who are we waiting for?" Jasmine sat down. "You'll see." The anniversary dinner had begun. Andre did not sit immediately. He stood beside the table, looking at the empty chair as if Jasmine might suddenly explain herself. Instead, she reached for her napkin. "Jasmine." She looked up. "What? Who are we waiting for?" "You already asked me. And you said I'd see." "Yes." Andre glanced toward the entrance, then back at her. "This isn't funny." "I know." His jaw tightened. For a few seconds he said nothing. Then he finally sat down. A server passed their table, and Andre ordered water. Jasmine ordered the same. Neither of them touched the menus. Andre tried small talk. "How was work today?" Jasmine looked at him. "You want to talk about work?" "I don't know what else you expect me to say." She almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she said, "Nothing." Andre leaned back. "You're making me nervous." Jasmine looked at the empty chair. "Now you know how it feels." He understood the meaning immediately. His expression changed. "Jasmine, whatever this is." The restaurant door opened. Andre turned. Jasmine did not need to look at him to know he had seen her. His entire body went still. Alicia was walking toward the table. Andre stood again. "What is this?" Jasmine finally turned toward him. "I invited her." Alicia stopped beside the empty chair. She looked uncomfortable. Andre looked from Alicia to Jasmine. "This is a mistake." Jasmine almost answered with something sharp. "That's interesting. You finally know what a mistake looks like." The words rose quickly, then disappeared. She had not spent weeks planning this conversation just to make Andre look foolish. She looked at Alicia. "Please sit." Andre shook his head. "No." Jasmine looked at him. "No? This isn't happening." Alicia shifted uneasily. "I can leave." Jasmine turned toward her. "No." Then she looked back at Andre. "You've had enough private conversations." Andre lowered his voice. "Jasmine, please." The word please almost reached her. Almost. There had been a time when that tone from Andre could make her question herself. Tonight she did not. "Alicia," Jasmine said, "sit down." Alicia hesitated. Then she pulled out the chair and sat. Andre remained standing. For one moment, the three of them seemed trapped in a situation none of them could change. Jasmine had imagined this scene before. She had imagined anger, Alicia looking smug, Andre becoming defensive. She had imagined herself saying everything she had rehearsed alone. Reality was quieter. Alicia looked nervous, Andre looked afraid, and Jasmine felt only the weight of what she had brought them all together to face. Andre finally sat. His eyes never left Jasmine. "What do you want?" It was the same question he had asked in different forms for months. Jasmine folded her hands on the table. "The truth." Andre looked toward Alicia, then back at Jasmine. "I've told you the truth." Jasmine said nothing. Alicia shifted in her chair. Andre noticed. Jasmine noticed that he noticed. The truth had already begun doing something different now. There was nowhere for it to travel separately. No phone call after Jasmine left the room. No private explanation to Alicia. No opportunity to change one version before repeating another. For the first time, the three people affected by Andre's choices were sitting together. Jasmine looked at Andre. "You're going to stay?" His face tightened. "I don't have to." "No." She nodded toward the door. "You don't." Andre looked at her. "But if you leave, you're making another decision." He sat still. Jasmine continued. "And this time you won't be able to call it confusion." Alicia looked down. Andre slowly turned his attention toward her, then back to Jasmine. The table became quiet. 3 glasses, 3 chairs, 3 people who had spent months hearing different versions of the same story. Jasmine looked at Andre and realized something. The hardest part was over. Not the marriage, not the consequences, but the waiting. She was no longer waiting for him to decide when the truth could be spoken. Tonight, the truth was already sitting at the table, and Andre could no longer speak to either woman as if the other one did not exist. Andre leaned toward Jasmine. "Can we talk privately?" "No." His eyes hardened. "Jasmine, we've talked privately. This is different. That's exactly why we're here." Andre looked around the restaurant, then back at her. "Please." Jasmine shook her head. No more separate conversations. Alicia sat quietly beside them. Andre looked at her. "You don't have to be here." Jasmine spoke before Alicia could answer. "She knows." Andre turned toward Jasmine. "Knows what?" "That you told me you ended things with her." Alicia looked at him. Andre went still. Jasmine watched the silence move across his face. Alicia finally spoke. "You told her that?" Andre exhaled. "Alicia, yes or no?" Jasmine looked at Alicia. It was the first time she had heard her speak directly to him without uncertainty. Andre looked down. "Yes." Alicia leaned back. Jasmine waited. Then she asked Andre, "And what did you tell her?" He said nothing. Alicia answered that he needed time. Jasmine turned toward her. "To figure out what?" "His marriage." Andre closed his eyes. Jasmine felt something settle inside her. Not surprise, she had known. But hearing the 2 versions spoken aloud changed something. To Jasmine, Andre had been a husband trying to rebuild his marriage. To Alicia, he had been a man still deciding whether that marriage had a future. Jasmine looked at Andre. "You told me you wanted to fix this." "I do." Alicia looked at him. "You told me you didn't know if you could." Andre rubbed his forehead. Jasmine stared at him. 2 women. 2 different realities. One man standing somewhere between them. Andre looked at Alicia. "I was trying to work things out." "With who?" Jasmine asked. His eyes returned to her. "With my marriage." Alicia's voice was quiet. "And me?" Andre did not answer. Jasmine saw it again. The pattern. Every direct question created another pause. Every pause became time. Every request for time allowed Andre to avoid giving anyone a real answer. Jasmine turned toward Alicia. "I need to say something clearly." Alicia looked at her. "You knew he was married." Alicia nodded. "Yes, I didn't know you existed." "I know." Jasmine held her eyes. "We are not equally responsible." Alicia looked down. "You're right." Andre shifted in his chair. "Jasmine, she didn't." Jasmine raised her hand. "Don't." He stopped. She was not going to let him protect Alicia from a truth Alicia had already accepted. Jasmine turned back toward her. "You made choices too." "I know. But you didn't make vows to me." Alicia's eyes lifted. Andre stared at the table. Jasmine continued. "You are not the reason my marriage reached this point." The words felt strange. She had spent so long believing Alicia was the woman standing between her and her husband. But Alicia had never been the center of the problem. Andre had been the one carrying messages between two lives. Andre had been the one deciding what each woman was allowed to know. Jasmine looked at him. The whole time, I kept asking what she had that I didn't. Andre looked up. Jasmine continued, I searched her pictures. Alicia's expression changed. I compared myself to you. Alicia said nothing. Jasmine swallowed. Then I found what he said to you. Andre immediately knew which message she meant. His face changed. Jasmine looked at Alicia. With you, everything feels easy. Alicia looked away. Jasmine's voice remained steady. Do you know what I did with that? Neither of them answered. I decided I must have become difficult. Andre whispered, Jasmine, no. She looked at him. You don't get to stop this part. He fell silent. Jasmine looked back at Alicia. I thought marriage had changed me into a problem. Bills, work, responsibilities, conversations about things that needed to be handled. Her fingers tightened together. And you became the person he could escape all of that with. Alicia's voice was low. You don't know what I was to him. Jasmine nodded. You're right. She looked toward Andre. But I know what he did to me. The words landed heavily. Jasmine leaned back. She was tired, not physically, tired of searching for herself inside another woman's life, tired of trying to discover what Andre found elsewhere that he no longer found at home. The answer had been sitting in front of her. Not because Alicia was blameless, she wasn't, but because Andre had choices every time he spoke to Alicia, every time he replied, every time he lied to Jasmine. Jasmine looked directly at him. And the whole time, the real problem was sitting in front of me. Andre's face tightened. I never wanted this. Jasmine stared at him. For a second she almost felt sorry for him. Then she understood what he meant. He had not wanted the confrontation. He had not wanted Alicia beside Jasmine. He had not wanted both versions of his life sitting together. He had not wanted consequences. But that was not the same as not wanting the choices that created them. Jasmine's voice was quiet. No. Andre looked at her. You never wanted this. She nodded toward the table. But you wanted everything that came before it. Andre looked at Jasmine for a long moment. I didn't want to hurt either of you. Jasmine's expression barely changed. But you did. I know. No, she said. I don't think you do. Andre looked down. Alicia sat quietly beside them. For the first time that evening, Jasmine did not feel as though she and Alicia were sitting across from each other. They were both looking at the same person. Jasmine turned toward Andre. You wanted what you received from both of us. Andre's head lifted. That isn't fair. Then explain it. I loved you. Jasmine nodded. And? He looked toward Alicia. Jasmine followed his eyes. Alicia's face tightened. You kept telling me we'd talk about the future, Alicia said. Andre closed his eyes. Alicia, no. She shook her head. You always said we would talk later. Jasmine felt the meaning of those words immediately. Later. The place Andre sent difficult decisions. Alicia continued, You'd say you needed to deal with your marriage first. Andre looked at her. I was trying to. But you never finished. The words stayed between them. Jasmine understood something then. Alicia had been waiting too. Not in the same way, not with the same rights, not with the same betrayal, but waiting. Andre had asked both women to remain in lives he controlled with uncertainty. Jasmine looked at Alicia. For the first time, she felt something that was not anger, recognition. That did not make them friends. It did not erase what Alicia had knowingly participated in. But Jasmine no longer believed there had ever been a competition between them. There had only been a man asking everyone else to wait while choosing would cost him something. Jasmine turned back toward Andre. Do you love her? Andre looked caught. Alicia sat completely still. He took too long to answer. Finally he said, I care about her. Jasmine held his eyes. That wasn't my question. Andre's face tightened. Jasmine waited. I don't know what I feel. Jasmine nodded. Then she asked another question. Do you love me? This time, Andre answered immediately yes. The speed of it hurt more than she expected. For months, Jasmine had believed that answer would mean something. Now she understood that it was not enough. Andre could love her and still lie to her. He could love her and still choose himself. He could love her and still ask her to carry the consequences of decisions he refused to make. Jasmine looked at him. You know what's strange? Andre said nothing. I spent so much time wondering if you still loved me. She glanced briefly at Alicia. Like that was the question that would explain everything. Andre leaned forward. "Jasmine, I do love you." She nodded. "I believe you." His expression changed. For a moment, hope appeared in his eyes. Then Jasmine continued, "And that's what makes this worse." The hope disappeared. People can love someone and still behave selfishly. Andre looked down. An apology can be real and still become meaningless if nothing changes. Jasmine's voice remained calm. And trying not to hurt someone can become another way of hurting them when all you do is delay the truth. No one spoke. The restaurant continued around them. Plates moved. Conversations continued at other tables. But Jasmine heard none of it clearly. She had carried this question with her for weeks, not because she did not know the words, because she knew once she asked it, she would have to live with the answer. She looked directly at Andre. "Do you actually want this marriage, or do you just want me to stay until you decide what you want?" Andre stared at her. Jasmine waited. Alicia waited. For once, neither woman spoke for him. Andre looked from Jasmine to Alicia, then back again. His silence lasted too long. Jasmine felt herself becoming strangely calm. Finally, Andre whispered, "I don't know." Jasmine nodded. Andre's face tightened. "I need more time." "That is your answer." "No." His voice broke. "Jasmine, please, I can figure this out." She looked at him. "Then figure it out." Andre reached toward her. She moved her hand away before he could touch it. "But you have time," Jasmine said. "It means I'm not giving you mine." Andre stared at her. Jasmine stood. Alicia looked down. Andre remained frozen in his chair. Jasmine picked up her bag. For 1 second she looked at the table. The anniversary dinner, the extra chair, the question that had brought all of them there. Then she walked away. She did not wait for Andre to follow. She did not turn around to see whether Alicia stayed. For the first time since she had discovered Alicia's name on Andre's phone, Jasmine was no longer waiting for him to decide what her life would become. She walked out of the restaurant alone. And this time, being alone did not feel like losing. Jasmine stepped outside and kept walking. The warm Atlanta night met her before she had fully decided where she was going. Behind her, the restaurant doors opened and closed. She did not turn around. She reached the edge of the sidewalk and stopped. For a moment she simply stood there. Her hands were shaking. She had imagined leaving. For weeks she had imagined what it would feel like to finally stop asking Andre for an answer. She had expected relief. Instead she felt everything: anger, sadness, fear, and underneath all of it, love. That was the part she had never been able to explain to anyone. She loved Andre. She had loved him when he proposed to her in their apartment after running errands. She had loved him during the ordinary years that followed. She had loved him when she first discovered Alicia's name and hated herself for still loving him. Walking away from the restaurant had not erased any of that. Jasmine pressed a hand against her stomach and closed her eyes. She still did not know whether her marriage was permanently over. She only knew she could no longer remain inside it the way she had been. The restaurant door opened again. This time she turned. Alicia was standing several feet away. Jasmine waited. Alicia approached slowly. "I just wanted to say something." Jasmine nodded once. Alicia stopped. "I am sorry." Jasmine looked at her. Alicia continued before Jasmine could respond. "I knew he was married. I knew enough to know I shouldn't have continued." Jasmine said nothing. "I kept believing what he told me because it was easier than admitting what I was accepting." Jasmine understood the honesty in that. But understanding was not forgiveness. Alicia looked at her. "You don't have to say anything." Jasmine nodded. "Thank you." Alicia's expression changed slightly. Jasmine added, "For apologizing." Then she looked toward the street. "But I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it yet." Alicia nodded slowly. "That makes sense." For a moment they stood in silence. Then Alicia asked, "What happens now?" Jasmine almost smiled. Not because the question was amusing, because she had spent so long hearing uncertainty from Andre that she now understood there could be two very different kinds of not knowing. She looked at Alicia. "I honestly don't know." Alicia waited. Jasmine continued, "But I'm not saying that because I need you or Andre to wait while I decide." The words felt important. She had a right not to know. She had a right to take her time. And for the first time, uncertainty did not feel like a place where someone else was trapped because of her. Alicia looked toward the restaurant. "Are you going home?" Jasmine looked back at her. "Yes." It was the only answer she had. Alicia nodded. "Good night, Jasmine." "Good night." Jasmine watched her walk away. Then she stood alone for another minute before taking out her phone. Andre did not come outside. She did not know whether he was still sitting at the table or whether he had already left. She decided she did not need to know. Jasmine went home. Andre was there when she arrived. Neither of them spoke immediately. Jasmine walked into the bedroom and closed the door. That night, she slept alone. The next morning, they had their first practical conversation. Not about love, not about Alicia, not about the anniversary dinner, about space. Andre asked if Jasmine wanted him to leave. She said yes. He asked for how long. She looked at him. I don't know. This time, Andre nodded. He packed a bag, then another. There was no dramatic scene, no shouting, no broken furniture, no final speech at the door. Just two people moving through the consequences of something that had already happened. Over the following months, Jasmine and Andre remained separated. There were conversations, arguments, long silences. Some days Jasmine missed him so badly that she questioned everything she had done. Other days she remembered the restaurant and felt certain she could not have remained. Andre began individual therapy. Jasmine did not ask him to. One afternoon, months later, he told her why. I finally understood something. Jasmine waited. He looked at her. Every time I said I didn't know, I thought I was being honest. She said nothing. But sometimes I was using it to avoid being responsible. Jasmine studied him. Andre continued. If I didn't decide, I could pretend I wasn't choosing. For the first time in a long time, Jasmine believed he understood something she had been trying to say. Not enough to repair everything, not enough to promise a future, but enough for the truth to finally become his responsibility too. Jasmine nodded. I'm sorry. She did not answer immediately. Then she said, I know. And this time, neither of them mistook understanding for reconciliation. Separation did not make Jasmine forget Andre. That was one of the first things she learned. There were mornings when she woke up and reached for a life that was no longer beside her. There were evenings when something happened at work, and her first instinct was to tell him. Sometimes she missed him before she remembered why they were apart. Therapy helped her understand that missing someone was not the same as needing to return to them. Jasmine had to learn that slowly. Much of her work had nothing to do with Alicia anymore, at least not directly. It had to do with comparison. Jasmine had spent months believing that if she could understand what Alicia had that she did not, she would understand Andre's betrayal. She now knew that question had never led anywhere useful. Andre had made choices. Those choices were not measurements of Jasmine's worth. Knowing that did not mean she immediately believed it every day. Some days she still caught herself wondering, was Alicia easier, less demanding, more exciting? Then Jasmine stopped herself. She no longer wanted to build her identity around questions Andre's behavior had taught her to ask. She had her own life to rebuild. Alicia eventually ended things with Andre. Jasmine did not tell her to. She did not need to. The anniversary dinner had forced Alicia to look directly at what she had accepted. Andre was no longer someone whose marriage was quietly ending somewhere in the background. He was a man who had avoided making decisions, while two women waited for clarity. Jasmine heard about Alicia's decision only because Andre eventually told her. She listened, then said nothing. It was not Jasmine's relationship to manage. Months after their separation began, Jasmine and Andre met to discuss practical matters. The conversation was easier than it had been in the past, not because the pain had disappeared, because they no longer had to pretend. Andre apologized again. Jasmine listened. Then she said, I don't need you to keep apologizing if you're going to use apologies to avoid changing. Andre looked at her. I understand. Jasmine studied him. For once, she believed he understood the difference. An apology could acknowledge the past. Change had to affect the future. But Jasmine did not mistake his growth for a promise that they would find their way back to each other. Some marriages ended because love disappeared. Theirs was more complicated. Love had survived things that trust had not. Eventually, Jasmine moved into a smaller apartment on the other side of Atlanta. The first night was difficult. The rooms felt unfamiliar. There were boxes in the corners and too much quiet after dark. She missed routines. She missed companionship. She missed knowing another person would come home at the end of the day. Most of all, she missed the future she had believed she would have. That was the loss she had not expected. She was not only grieving Andre, she was grieving the version of her life she had already imagined. Anniversaries, ordinary years, growing older beside the man she had once believed she understood completely. Some evenings, loneliness hurt so sharply that leaving seemed like the easier decision to question. Then Jasmine remembered something. Loneliness was painful, but uncertainty had been exhausting. Loneliness asked her to sit with herself. Uncertainty had asked her to sit inside someone else's refusal to choose. They were not the same. And slowly, Jasmine began to understand that a difficult life was not necessarily the wrong life. Sometimes peace did not arrive when everything became easy. Sometimes it began when you stopped asking someone else to decide what you were willing to accept. Months after the anniversary dinner, Jasmine met a friend for lunch. They chose a quiet place in Atlanta where Jasmine could sit near the window and watch people pass outside. By then, her life had changed in ways she had not expected. She was still working, still going to therapy, still learning how to live alone. Andre was no longer part of her daily routine. That fact had once seemed impossible. Now it was simply true. The friend across from her watched Jasmine for a moment. "Do you regret leaving?" Jasmine did not answer immediately. She thought about Andre, about the man she had fallen in love with, the man who had made her laugh, the man whose nervousness when he proposed had once convinced her that she knew the deepest parts of him. She thought about Alicia, about the photographs she had searched, the comparisons she had made, the anger she had carried toward another woman, while the person who had made promises to her sat at home asking for more time. Then she thought about the anniversary dinner, the third chair, the moment Andre had seen Alicia, and the question that had finally ended Jasmine's waiting. She looked at her friend. "I regret waiting so long to stop asking the wrong question." Her friend leaned forward. "What was the wrong question?" Jasmine looked down at her hands. Then she said, "Why wasn't I enough?" The question felt smaller now than it once had. For so long it had controlled everything. She had searched for the answer in Alicia's appearance, her clothes, her life. She had searched for it in Andre's distance, in his messages, in every moment when he seemed more emotionally present somewhere else. Her friend was quiet for a moment. And what was the right question? Jasmine looked toward the window. She had spent months learning the answer, not from one dramatic realization, but from quiet days, lonely evenings, conversations she had survived, decisions she had made without waiting for permission. Finally, she turned back. Why was I still waiting for someone else to decide what I deserved? Her friend said nothing. Jasmine smiled slightly. I kept thinking the answer to my life was inside Andre's decision. She paused. Would he choose me? Would he leave Alicia? Would he change? Would he finally become certain? And then? Jasmine looked at her. And while I was waiting for him to answer all of those questions, I wasn't answering any questions for myself. That was the part she understood now. Leaving was not always the answer. Jasmine knew that. Some marriages survived betrayal. Some people did change. Some relationships could be rebuilt through honesty, accountability, and difficult work. And betrayal did not necessarily mean love had never existed. She had loved Andre. She believed in his own flawed way that Andre had loved her too. But love had not protected her from what he did. And Alicia had never been the answer to the question Jasmine had spent months asking. Blaming another woman could not repair the damage created by the person who had broken trust. Jasmine could not control whether Andre chose honesty. She could not control whether he became accountable. She could not control whether he continued growing after finally admitting what his indecision had done. Those choices belonged to him. But Jasmine could control something else. How long she remained inside a life shaped by his refusal to decide. That was her decision. Her friend reached across the table and touched Jasmine's hand. Do you think you're happier now? Jasmine considered the question. I think I'm more honest now. Her friend smiled. Jasmine smiled too, because happiness had not arrived as a reward for leaving. Life was still complicated. Some nights were still lonely. Some memories still hurt. She still missed things she had once believed would last forever, but she no longer confused missing someone with losing herself. Self-respect had not arrived dramatically. It had not come with applause. It had come quietly, at a table for three. In the moment, Jasmine stopped competing for a place that had already been hers. In the moment, she stopped waiting for another person to tell her what her life was worth. And once she understood that, Jasmine realized something she wished she had known much earlier. Sometimes the most important decision is not whether someone else will finally choose you. Sometimes it is deciding that you are no longer willing to wait for the answer.